Soulfire Bastion. You can find this dungeon in the Imperial era, located just to the north of Welryn and east of Thatima, and you will need a Soulfire Bastion key to gain access. There are 4 tiers to choose from. Each tier gives increased loot but amps up the difficulty. Tier 1 is the first unlock and you need to work your way up to Tier 4. Remember, you only get 1 life. If you die, the run is over and you will need another key. Soulfire Bastion has enemies that deal fire and necrotic damage. And surprise surprise, the mechanic is all about alternating between fire and necrotic immunity. This new ability is called Soulfire Shield, located just to the right of your health globe. You will know which immunity you are in because of the bubble effect that surrounds your character. It will either be fire or necrotic, and switching the immunity costs soul embers, which is the currency used at the end to claim your rewards. But it only uses 1 ember each time you swap, so don't avoid using it just to save soul embers. You will have hundreds if not thousands from killing enemies, and the embers will also be banked and carry on from every run that you do. So swap the immunity whenever you need to. Movement speed and movement abilities are extremely helpful in this dungeon, especially when fighting the boss at the end. But it's pretty straightforward. Just match the color of the floor environment and any AoE attack hitting you, or get the hell out of dodge, because it's probably going to kill you. Be extra vigilant around the big boys throughout the dungeon. There are 2 of them to worry about: Searing Flesh and the Possessed Golem. They are responsible for the large AoE, necrotic, and fire damage abilities throughout your run, and these will hurt a lot. More often than not, these abilities will completely one-shot you. During your run, you will come across up to 2 doors to the next area. You can only choose 1 door, and each one will have different modifiers, ramping up the difficulty a bit and juicing the quality of loot you get from the gambling vendor at the end. More on the Soul Gambler near the end of the video. Pro tip, keep your eye out for doors that give you a chance to seal an affix when buying an item from the gambler. This is by far the best modifier. Eventually, you will find yourself at the boss, Fire Lich Cremoris. By this point, you need to be familiar with using Soulfire Shield to swap between fire and necrotic immunity, because Cremoris will force you to use it a lot. There are 6 abilities you need to focus on, starting with the main mechanic, Soulfire Floor. Throughout the fight, he will change the floor to deal necrotic or fire damage. It is extremely important that you maintain the same immunity as the current floor element. This will quickly burn your health and will eventually take over the entire arena, becoming unavoidable. So remember to always match the element of the floor. Cremoris will constantly have orbiting skulls around him that deal fire and necrotic damage. Either stay glued to the boss or keep your distance. The orbiting skulls can be avoided relatively easily. One of the most dangerous abilities he will use is the flamethrower. Keep yourself up close to the boss and continue to circle him, so you can easily walk out of this attack. Having a movement ability ready for this attack is also a good idea, because getting hit by this will melt you. Literally. Next up is the Necrotic Circle. This will spawn in a large radius around Cremoris and will converge inwards. Use your Soulfire Shield to swap to Necrotic right before this ability hits you, and quickly swap back to match the floor element if needed. Every now and then, Cremoris will summon a Necrotic Thrall to chase you. Kill it quickly with Necrotic immunity up. The Thrall will cast a big AoE burst that deals a ton of necrotic damage, and will mark you for death, which makes you take 25% more damage. The last ability to worry about is Soulfire Burst. Cremoris will shoot out multiple fire and necrotic skulls that move in a left to right pattern. Tanking multiple of these at once can hurt a lot, so be sure to weave in between the skulls, preferably at a distance. To put things simply, the majority of the fight is avoiding fire and necrotic projectiles, matching the element of the floor, and watch out for the large channeled flamethrower he casts, which will obliterate you. But as long as you're moving and grooving, you'll be fine. Cremoris has 4 dedicated drops at each tier of difficulty. Tier 1 is Ashes of Mortality, Tier 2 is Lich's Envy, Tier 3 Immolator's Oblation, and Tier 4 Pyre of Affliction. After killing the boss, you get to just hang out and do some good old-fashioned gambling. The Soul Gambler vendor has 3 dedicated uniques that can be acquired at random: Soul Gambler's Fallacy, Ashes of Orcarion, and Burning Avarice. Aside from the dedicated uniques, he also has a chance to give items with sealed affixes, as long as you found that modifier when going through a door that gives you a chance to seal an affix when gambling an item. This is what makes the Soul Gambler so good, as he is currently the only way to get an item with a tier 5 sealed affix, allowing you to potentially get some of the best gear possible, if you're lucky. Well, actually you are lucky, because I've got guides for the other dungeons as well, right here on the screen just for you. Oh, and make sure you subscribe for more Last Epoch videos. I'm Manarith, and I'll be back. Peace.